If you took this money, it would buy a remedy or a cure for their disease.
I don't know. That's a hard one.
It is a hard one, isn't it? More tempted to do it now?
If it's to save a life, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, so do you think stealing's all right?
No.
Is nothing wrong with stealing?
Of course, stealing's wrong, but if you could get away with it, £2 million.
So do you think stealing's wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely think stealing's wrong. How come you'd steal the money though, even though you think stealing's wrong?
Well, it's £2 million, isn't it? You'd be loaded.
Let's just say you are now caught and you appear before the judge, and the judge is telling you you've taken the money and you try to justify it using that excuse. Should he let you off?
No.
You?
No, because it's against the law. So.
It's still wrong. When it's wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah. Completely.
If you said to the judge, "Oh, judge, I stole this money to save a life," how do you think they would view your decision?
Still classed as theft?
They still class it as theft. Do you think the punishment would still be the same, or do you think it would be different?
No, it'll probably still be the same.
If it was different, what would you maybe say about the judge?
I don't know. I really don't know.
So if the judge maybe let you off, you might say the judge was unjust, or he wouldn't be abiding to his role. Would you agree with that?
I would agree, yeah.
Have you ever taken anything that doesn't belong to you?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but probably.
At some point in our lives, in the past, we have taken something, regardless of value, we would have done that, right?
Yeah. You've admitted that you've stolen things before in your life. Have you stolen anything before in your life?
Yeah.
Yeah? What do you call someone who steals things?
Robber, stealer.
That's it's a thief, isn't it? It's a thief. You steal things, you're known as a thief, aren't you?
How many lies would you say you've told in your life?
No, I don't know.
How many lies? Oh, I would say a few.
Well, I don't know if you were kind of following what I'm doing there, but I use 2 of the 10 commandments to compare us with.
So do you both think that you're good people?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself to be a good person?
Yes.
And you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll do 2 more of the 10 commandments and see how well you do.
Have you ever used God's name in vain by saying, JC as a swear word, or saying OMG or whatever?
Yeah, probably have, yeah.
Yes.
And you?
Yeah.
But it's interesting that people use God's name as a swear word, but they don't use Hitler's or Gandhi's or Muhammad's. They just use Jesus' name, don't they? That's interesting, isn't it?
Why would you use his name as a swear word?
Because I don't swear traditionally, so I resort to things like that to fence out anger.
Yeah. If God did really exist, truly, would you say it would be wrong to blaspheme?
Yeah.
It would be wrong. It would be worse than swearing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if there's a higher power and you're using his name in vain, then yeah.
Do you believe that God exists?
No.
So, I mean,
When I say no, I would like to believe he exists, but I'm a skeptic. My brother passed away 10 years ago, and at that time I think I fell out with God over this, sir. And for the last sort of 11 years, I have never gone back into believing. So I'm a skeptic.
well, I don't want to belittle the experience you've had, but whatever we go through, whatever experiences we have, doesn't change reality. If something exists, it remains to exist. If it doesn't exist, it doesn't change. Reality doesn't change depending on our experiences. So if God did exist, whether we fall out with him or not, or whether we have reasons to disagree with him or not, would not change the reality of whether he exists or not. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yeah, I suppose, yeah.
The commandment says you shouldn't commit adultery, as in go off with another woman whilst you're married. But Jesus upped the game a little bit, and he kind of pointed out the importance of the heart as it is your actions, because God judges us for our thoughts, not just our deeds, but our thoughts and our words. So blaspheming is considered a crime in God's eyes, even though you didn't go around hurting anybody. Even lusting after another person, in God's eyes, the seed is as bad as the tree itself.
So if you see a beautiful woman walking down the street and you don't look at her, I would say that's a crime in itself, because beauty is for everybody to look at.
Sure. Well, when I said, have you ever looked with lust, I didn't mean you look at a woman and you consider her beautiful. I meant have lustful thoughts.
So, Chris, by your own admission, you're a lying, blasphemous adulterer at heart. How does that sound?
Sounds brilliant.
Sounds brilliant. I'm not judging you, by the way. This is by your own admission.
I know, that's my fault.
How does that sound?
You're making me feel really bad now.
Sounds really bad.
Sounds bad, doesn't it? But that's how God looks at us. Now, when you die, what do you think happens?
You go to heaven or hell.
I just think you're in the ground.
Okay, so you just think you die, you think you go to heaven or hell. If you were to die today and God was to judge you by those standards, do you think you'd go to heaven or do you think you go to hell?
By those standards,
By those standards,
we're going straight to hell.
straight to hell. So that's God's standard, and that's God's standard is supremely high, and He judges you by thought, word, and deed.
Would you say on Judgment Day, if God were to judge you by that standard on Judgment Day, would you be innocent or guilty?
On that standard, guilty.
And you?
Guilty.
My personal point of view, I think I'm innocent.
Okay, yeah, and a lot of people say that. What do you think? What's the reason behind that?
Because my own conscience, I think I'm clear. I can justify everything I've done.
We have to base it on something. I mean, we can't base it on something that we think is right, because otherwise we'll all pass the test, wouldn't we? A criminal who raped and murdered may not see anything wrong with that, but the judge says, I judge you by a different standard. And he can't appear in the court of law and say, can you judge me by my own standard? Because then no one will be criminal. Can we read?
Yeah.
If God did exist, and if hell did exist, and God is judging us by that standard, should that concern us?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
And you've rightly said that concerns you. It should concern you. Do you know what God did for you? That you don't have to spend eternity in hell. There's a good news. There's a way out. Do you know what it is?
No,
Have you heard of Jesus?
I have.
2,000 years ago, Jesus came as a man, so fully God, fully man, and He was perfect, so He was sinless. And He died upon the cross, so He took your sin and my sin and died upon the cross, and He rose again 3 days later. And what He's done is He's extinguished your sin. So He's legally paid for the debt that you owe God. So you've broken God's law, the Ten Commandments, and instead of you paying for that law forever in hell for the punishment for what you've paid, Jesus paid for that upon the cross.
And all it requires of us is that we repent. That means we say sorry for our crimes and put our faith in Jesus. And on Judgment Day, God would look at our case and dismiss us on grounds that our crime has been paid for by another. In the same way as if you appear in the courtroom, the judge can dismiss our case if justice has been served by somebody bailing us out. So He doesn't let us off for our crimes, but He pays for them because He's the only one who can.
Let's say somebody kills somebody and then they say sorry. What, so they're allowed to be let off for that? Surely that to me that to me doesn't seem fair.
If I understand my Bible correctly, I know that God is not letting anyone off. God is more unhappy with the crime that you're describing than you are, because He is the standard of justice and He's the standard of holiness.
Because of what Jesus did, I'm discharging your case and you can now go free. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Steve, here's a difficult question for you, and I want you to be honest with me. When will you do that?
I don't know.
Would you consider it?
Yes, for definite.
Because if you're on the way home today, you died and God gave you justice, and it could happen. I mean, a car can hit us, our heart can give up. We're not perfect. Something could happen that could actually terminate our lives instantly. People die every day.
Have you got a Bible at home, guys?
No.
I've got a Bible in my bag I'd like to give to you today that I'd like to take home and read, and we consider about the things that we've spoken of today.
We do read the Bible at school actually, but yeah, I will definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah?
You got a Bible at home?
I used to have.
Well, you have a Bible now.
Pick up the Bible, have a look at what it says. Maybe go on this website because there's some really interesting videos on evolution versus God and so on and so forth. But otherwise, I really appreciate you speaking to me, and I thank you for your time, mate. Thanks ever so much. Nice one, appreciate it.
So I'm not promoting a sect. I don't want your money. I'm not even promoting my church. I'm just wanting you to know the truth. And if God is real, this is the honest truth.
Yes, I agree. It would make sense to repent as soon as you can.
I've got a Bible in my bag I'd like to give you today. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Super. Thank you for your time. Been a great sport. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, mate.
Terry, I have a story for you. And I want to have your opinion on the story. Is that okay?
Okay.
You live in a house.
I live in a flat.